Scotland's papers are split on their interpretation of Wednesday's budget by Chancellor Philip Hammond. Under the headline "Scrap Your Tartan Tax Hikes," the Scottish Daily Mail writes that the SNP is being urged to ditch plans for a middle-class tax hike after Scotland was handed a £2 billion windfall in the budget. Likewise, the Scottish Daily Express says that Scotland was handed an extra £2 billion by the Chancellor to help the country's struggling economy amid calls for Nicola Sturgeon to drop any planned tax hikes. It is estimated that, if the Scottish Government does not respond with tax breaks for first-time home buyers and middle-income earners, then the move to raise the higher 40% rate of income tax threshold next year from £45,000 to £46,350 for taxpayers in England could see those in Scotland £670 worse off, according to the Herald. The Scotsman also writes that Nicola Sturgeon is facing calls to ditch the prospect of income tax rises in Scotland after more than £180 million of extra cash was handed to Scotland in Philip Hammond's budget. Ruth Davidson, the Scottish Tory leader, warned there is a growing tax gap between people in Scotland and elsewhere in the UK and demanded the First Minister step back from plans to increase income tax for workers earning more than £31,500, is how the Daily Telegraph writes up the story. However, the Daily Record reports that Ms. Sturgeon called Philip Hammond's budget pledge of £2 billion for Scotland smoke and mirrors and also rubbished Scots Tory MPs' attempts to take credit for the decision to exempt Scotland's emergency service from VAT payments. Chancellor Philip Hammond was rumbled after trying to dress up cuts to Scotland's budget as a £2 billion boost, says the Scottish Sun, which claims the Chancellor's funding pledge crumbled when it emerged Holyrood's spending power will actually fall with inflation. The National headlines its front page The Big Con and writes that Scotland has been screwed again as the Tories deliver big budget cuts, which have been slammed by Scotland's Finance Secretary, Derek Mackay, as a cash grab. Meanwhile, The Times reports that Mr. Hammond has embarked on a £25 billion giveaway in an effort to counter growing political and economic headwinds with extra money for housing, the NHS and Brexit. The Eye calls it Philip Hammond's hard hat budget as the Chancellor reports dismal growth forecasts and suggests there will be a productivity challenge for years to come. In other news, internet star Jack Maynard was axed from I'm a Celeb after he was accused of sending pestering messages to a teenage girl, according to the Daily Star. The Courier reports how a 20-year-old man who stabbed a 53-year-old dog walker 3 times in a Perthshire play park in a random attack faces jail after being convicted.